Welcome, everyone, to the very first Wisdom with Wiebke realization session. And first of all, thank you all so much for listening to my podcast and to giving your wisdom and share your kind words and your encouragement and your feedback with me, so I can improve on that and hopefully gain even more listeners. So please make sure to share it if you really like the podcast, and also feel free to give me any kind of feedback. But let's start now. So what is a wisdom realization session? To give you a better overview on what I was thinking about when I had that in mind, or when the idea came to me, was that we do have a lack of wisdom not recently, over the years, I think. And Eckhart Tolle says that as well. We need to gain more wisdom, which we already have inside. And I just want us all to be able to share it more so that everyone can profit from it. So I know that my listeners, but also my friends and everyone who's connected to me, they're very wise. And oftentimes we don't really acknowledge it. And once we get asked, what kind of wisdom do you have, or what kind of realizations have you had recently? That's when we realize that we do have a lot of wisdom inside. We do have a lot of knowledge of our own, what is true to ourselves, what helped us. So I don't want to talk too much about that now, and thought I'm going to jump in and give you one example of my latest realization. Before I then will go, I picked out two realizations from anonymous people who wrote those realizations in the document I shared on Instagram. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm going to provide my link there as well. But yeah, let's start. So my recent realization was that when I was listening to Eckhart Tolle, so I was in the same Zoom call with Eckhart Tolle, which was crazy because I'm such a fangirl, and I was very honored and grateful to be in that Zoom call. So we were building like an audience for him, and the Zoom call, or the video, his session was recorded and then later on was provided on YouTube. But you can't see us, like the people in the background. You can only see him talking or the organizer. But still, my question was answered, which is amazing. And that really, yeah, gave me a realization. It's for months now, but it really ingrained in my system and I can't stop thinking about it. So I thought I'm going to share it with you. So hopefully you benefit from it as well. And it was about manifestation and how we always, or a lot of times, think, okay, I just have to be in the right mindset. I have to be abundant and grateful and be in the present moment. And yeah, I just have to ramp up my manifestation skills and be present in everything. And then it'll come. Universe will help me, right? I just have to believe. So I'm doing all that. But then there are limits. And Eckhart said, for example, if you want to become a really famous YouTuber, or if you want to be the best athlete in whatever kind of sport, or whatever you dream about, you want to become a really great musician or a DJ or whatever, right? At some point, you have to do something as well. Like you have to do your part so that the universe then can accelerate that or can help you and support you in that. And my head was just like, true, because if I don't provide anything out there into the world, how will the universe be able to support me in spreading the word, right? So I really wanted to do this podcast, and I was thinking, okay, universe, kind of help me there. But actually, I have to do an episode and another episode and another episode, which might not be the best I've ever will make a podcast. It won't be produced as my best work, let's say, but it's a start. And it's a message that the universe then can use and spread out into the world. So I'm doing my thing, I'm doing my work, and then believing that the universe, or whatever you want to call it, will support me in spreading that message of wisdom, of kindness, of whatever it is, inspiration maybe. But just sitting there and saying to yourself, universe will do. And if not, my manifestation skills might not be the best, or I have to just read more books or whatever, right? That's not enough. You have to actually believe in yourself as well and then do something. And even if it's not the best at the start, that doesn't mean that it's not worth it. It's still something you put out there to then become something. So yeah, that was my latest realization. And I hope it helps. And maybe it helps people who are currently on this little in between where they're not sure if they should do it or not, or if they should just manifest more. You are your manifestation as well. If you put in the action, you can become or get that manifestation even better and easier and more, because there's the willingness there, right? Okay, so one of my listeners, I'm going to read out of the document, has written, I am not this, I am not that, I'm just me being me. A space where I am free. No boundaries, no limitation. This is the last thing I wrote down. It's basically about non-identification with anything, to be what you actually are and do what you're meant to be doing. Yeah. So amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And the only thing I have to add to that is, I think, that when you actually realize that you just have to be you, and that's enough, and that you don't have to conform to anyone's labels they put on you, it's so freeing. So what I read here is a space where I'm free. Yeah, because when you realize that, you feel so much freedom, right? And you feel also a lot of inspiration, because now you can really kind of design yourself. You can design your life. You can be only you, and who defines who's you? Only you. Again. So yeah, I love that. So thank you so much for sharing that. And then someone else, which was quite long. So if I do another realization session, please make sure to make it quite short. So with the explanation as well. So I don't have to read so much, but also otherwise it gets a bit tiring if I have to read that long in the podcast episode. So I'll give you a summary of what was published, which was the person went to a theater and she got invited. I think it's a she, got invited from friends, and the person didn't really know what kind of theater play it would be. So they went there, and at the end, I'm just gonna say she really liked it, but didn't really get to the point of the play. Like, it was a bit high. The language was quite well spoken, and the content was a bit maybe too sophisticated or whatever, in like a theater kind of theme. But anyway, she went home and she really liked it. And that's when her realization hit in, that oftentimes we are not the experts, and then we judge something, and oftentimes we really like it, however it is done. So she's not the expert in theater plays, but she still enjoyed it and she really liked it. And she wouldn't have noticed probably if someone didn't spoke the correct line or danced in a different way or whatever it was, right? So projecting that onto us, oftentimes when we are expert in something, we worry so much about, oh my God, will they see that this wasn't correct? Or maybe I should have done that better. And really trying to be the perfectionists in there, in our area. But then we put it out into the world, and then there are maybe, I don't know, 1% of people who are also expert in this kind of field, they might see it and they might have something to add and feedback, and they say, oh, you could have done this better. But the rest of the 99% of people out there, they're not experts in that field. They will look at it, they will enjoy it, and they say, well done, right? And when I read this, really resonated with me and the podcast, because I thought, you know what? I'm the same. I'm not an expert in the podcast field right now. I'm trying. I'm just going to put it out there. And yes, there are a lot of experts in the podcast field or in the podcast area who would listen to my podcast and have lots of things to add and improve. But then a lot of people have never done a podcast, have never tried it even. They will listen to it and they think, yeah, it was quite good. So think of that the next time you really want to do something super well and you kind of get caught up in your expertise in a specific field. Try and think of what would other people think in a way that they're not experts. Probably they won't even see that this one little thing isn't the way it's supposed to be, and they still will enjoy, or they still will feel that it was made with great intent. Let's say it that way. Well, thank you so much. That was already the realization session. It's a shorter session, and I'm going to do it every now and then if I feel like I want to share one of my realizations, but also I want to share lots of realizations from you. So keep them coming. I will design a new document and share it on my Instagram. And then I wish you all well. Thank you again for all the messages and for listening. And I wish you a wonderful day. Bye.